Okay, here we go. Number 18, yeast. Yeast is great. There's a lot of things you can do with yeast. Pretty simple experiment, but it gets the kids going, gets people thinking. And yeast and bread are everywhere. So we're looking at fermentation, a chemical process of what happens. Yeast takes yeast. You can smell it. It's like yeast is really cool stuff. It does a lot of different things. It buds. I mean, even just its whole reproductive cycle. And you got to make sure you know, and the kids know, that it's a fungus. It's a fungi. So that's something you can look up and see how it reproduces. Where does it come from? It's really old. It's been around for a long time. It's floating in the air right now. So what we're doing is doing an experiment just with the cups and the yeast to see how it grows. What does yeast like? What does it look like when it grows? How do the bubbles get in the bread? Stuff like that. So we got the little labels so the kids can do this. I was doing this yesterday and at school, and I like to at the end use the live yeast to make bread. We were making Maori fry bread, and it's just wonderful, and it's a great experience for the kids. Every class should do it. They make the bread. They need the little dough together. You chop it up into little pieces. So every kid, all 30 kids or however many you have their own little bit of dough, and they're kneading it. It's very therapeutic, and they love it. And then you get to eat it. So we started our yeast at about first thing in the morning, 9 o'clock, and then by 10:30 we'd already made our bread, cooked it up, eaten it with bread and jam, and it was a great morning. To start out with, you cut these things. The kids will cut these things, and you stick them. So getting in groups 3, they cut little bits off, stick them on here. I was finding it's a lot easier to put the yeast in first. So each one has yeast. 1, 2, 3. 3 has cold water. 2 has warm water and yeast. And then number 1 will have the sugar. And that's the one that's going to grow and makes all the bubbles. And it probably happens within 5 minutes. You can smell it. It's very kind of tactile, sensory experience. You can see when the yeast is reacting with the sugar, and it pulls and it makes alcohol. It makes alcohol and carbon dioxide. So that's what the bubbles, carbon dioxide gives you the bubbles. Oh, and it's another thing that you got to think about. Yeast is actually alive. You can talk about how what makes something alive. Do they really think it's alive? They're going to think it's alive, but it really is alive. And it's in its dormant state. It's sleeping. All it needs is warmth. So we got it at. So you throw in a little thermometer. The temperature of the water is really important. If it's too cold, it doesn't work. And if it's too hot, it kills it. So right around 37 is really good temperature of the human body. And then you can just make stuff grow. So here's a little bit. So here's the number 1. This is when it grows. It's like really bubbles up and grows big. I don't know what else to say. And the only other thing you need to know about is that it's the chemistry of cooking. The chemistry of cooking. Usually, when you cook something, you add a lot of heat. It is going to think, oh, is it a chemical change or is it a physical change? So it's a chemical change because you can't go back. And so have fun with the yeast and have fun cooking and eating with your class. Okay, see you next time.